Welcome back, everyone. We're live talking about everything Formula One. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay up to date on all things the fellas. This week, we're talking about the Italian Grand Prix. I'll start it by saying it's eventful, but a pretty even race with a few exciting moments. So looking at it, the start of the race was the most exciting part as far as I saw, and then a few things at the end. With that, I'm going to throw it to Ray. Ray, what do you lead us in?
Well, yeah, I would agree. I was a little surprised at the order that things showed up in. Max made pole. That was interesting. And the McLaren boys, they tried to. Plus Ferrari, also showed up with Charles being up there in the top five, and it was an interesting start. How Max had to cover, Lando, and then cover back Oscar, right? And going through it, and then back then, we had the Ferrari trying to poke in, and how McLaren was able to get around them, right, from that point. And then after that, it was the Verstappen, Piastri, Norris show. Everybody else was kind of, left to the back. So it was interesting to start.
Simon?
I agree. The start was interesting. It's probably the best part of the race. We had 4.5 to 5 race cars in the beginning going at it with Max, Piastri, Lando, Leclerc, and Russell trying to get his foot in there a little bit in the beginning. But he, slowly faded to black in a sense. But yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah.
I think I heard Lando call Max an idiot or somebody an idiot in the beginning, and I was just like, oh wow, that's okay, Lando. But yeah, it was interesting for the first 10 laps.
Yeah.
You didn't know what was going on, and Max had to give back a position. And I thought Lewis was going to get a penalty on that first 2 corners because he went off the track a little bit, and I thought he would have to give it back to Tsunoda, but they didn't. I was like, whew, because he was already in 8th place. There's no way he could have gave it back to Tsunoda at that point. So yeah, it was interesting. Didn't know what was going to happen until probably lap 15, and everything kind of just mellowed out. Right?
Yeah. Well, the start got me because, to me, from my point of view, Max did a start or a maneuver that I hadn't seen since like maybe in the 90s into the early 2000s of racing, where he came across enough, knowing that the track is going to narrow as they're coming up to the first corner, to force Lando to back out of it and slot in behind him. But Lando did what I thought was a ballsy move and stayed there, had 2 wheels on the grass, and still, because he did that, he didn't lose position. So when he was able to come back over, he held on to the line and pushed Max out. So I thought that was ballsy and a strategic move that paid off for him and forced Max. That's what forced Max to have to give it back, because there was no way Max could go around that corner unless he cut the corner. So I thought that was a fair thing for him to give it back. And I could understand Lando saying he's an idiot, because I can understand him saying it, but I can also give it to Max. Like, they're both racing. Max is being strategic. So I enjoyed watching that. And then because of that, Oscar fell into the clutches of Charles, and Charles pushed and got it. So I enjoyed watching that back and forth between them, because then Oscar came and took him on the outside of the corner eventually to finally get back around him. They swapped places like twice. I thought that was very exciting to watch that.
Yeah, 4 cars going at it for sure. Sorry, Ray.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ray.
I was just going to say, I think what Lando was referring to is when Max finally went around him, he pinched him on the corner, and I think Lando said in one of the commentary that they did touch. Right, I wasn't looking at Lando's camera then to see that, but yeah, Max Max did a Max move.
Mm-hmm.
He came in and he pinched him while he was on there just to go around him, right? So.
Mm-hmm. And again, like you said, Simon, yes, like the first 10 laps, because in that you also saw Lewis made up 2 spots on the start. So because of his penalty, he qualified in 5th, but then had to start in 10th. And then by the start of the race, he was in 8th, strong. So there was a lot of jockeying around and moving around by the cars in those first 10 laps, which was exciting, which was exciting. So
yeah,
let's not forget it, because I want to give Max his flowers for that start as well. Because yes, he gave the position back, but then he settled in and started to attack. And what did he do? He ended up taking it back. So I say hats off to Red Bull for getting the right aero package set up on their car for Monza, because it's a high-speed track. So you don't want to have a lot of drag, and evidently they got it right.
Yeah. Just one more thing before we leave off of Lando and Max. The reason why I pointed out that he called him an idiot is because the mindset has changed. In the beginning of the season, we all talked about Lando needed to not see Max as a friend on the track.
Mm-hmm.
And the minute you call somebody an idiot, I can't see myself calling you guys an idiot, but the minute you start calling your friend an idiot, you're no longer seeing him as a friend on the track. You're seeing him as a foe, which he needs to do.
Right.
If you're going to win the championship, you need to see everybody on that track as an enemy or competition, not as your friend. So to me, that was telling more than anything else.
You're right. I agree, Simon. You're right. That is true, because even the fact that Lando didn't fall for what Max was trying to do to get him to slot in behind him, Lando kept his foot in it, right? And put it on the grass. You're right. That shows that he has finally gotten it in his head. Like, no, I'm out here and I need to beat this guy. We're gonna have drinks maybe later, but right here, I'm taking this guy out fairly. And that you're right. That's exactly what's seen. Ray? Comment?
Well, I just want Simon mentioned, our view, I think, mentioned about Lewis, and I had his camera on, and let me tell you, starting back in the field, it's melee, especially when you're coming to a chicane that you have to check up and probably take in second gear to go around. I saw, he went down the middle. My man, Mr. Tsunoda, came and I was sure he chopped off Lewis's front wing, because Lewis was coming up the middle and Tsunoda was like, yo, no, you're not. And I'm going there now. And, so it's melee coming through the fields. I feel for those guys that are in the backfield, because it's a wonder that they don't have more incidents come, in more of the races. But yeah, especially when they came back into the chicane where everything funneled down from 3-car width down to 2. It was, it was a little tight there when I was watching that. But he made it through, so that was good.
Which is why they always say you want to qualify as high up as you can to avoid that melee, because it's a lot of what they call argy-bargy banging and this, that, and whatever. And you could be an innocent casualty of 2 cars in front or a few cars in front of you getting into something, and then you're done. So that's why pole is always what you want. So you can hopefully scoot off into clean air and stay out of all the problems. But having said that, like you said, the first 10 laps, after that, the race just quieted down. I would not give it a label that it was boring. There were things going on, but it was very processional to a degree. I
like that word.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? To a degree, until we got later in the race where we got to McLaren's team orders, at least for me. So I'm going to throw it to you, Simon. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it was a little uneventful. I felt sorry for Alonso a little bit. Had a good team strategy of getting in front of was it Bortoleto? Bortoleto. And then 2 laps later, his suspension goes out. So I felt sorry for him. But yeah, very uneventful. I'm not going to use the big word you use. I'll let you own that. But team orders, right? I thought it was interesting as you're listening to the commentary and listening to Lando on his radio, and his team engineer is saying, explain to him and say, hey, you can either go in first, right? Because there's no undercut, or you can let Piastri go in and protect himself against Charles. And he said, yeah, let's let him go in first. If there's no undercut, let's just let him go in first and protect himself. And then the fiasco with the front left tire happens for Lando. So I thought the team orders was correct, right? Lando had the opportunity to go in first. He didn't take it. He gave it to his teammate to try and hold off Charles, which Charles was only 2 seconds behind him. Had an issue with the front tire. I don't care what anybody else says. I would have done the same thing if I was Piastri. You know, team orders. 3 points is not going to hurt me if I'm up 37.
Okay.
Hopefully.
Okay. Right.
Hopefully Lando doesn't win the championship by 3 points.
Right.
But yeah.
Right.
That's kind of how I felt.
Well, I don't know how I feel on this, but yeah, I think Lando, because he was looking for the undercut and he was also considering the overcut, right? So that's when he said, yeah, let Oscar go in first, right? And yeah, he came in and the team fumbled, right? And I think that was their way of fixing their fumble, right? You know, Oscar's in the heat of the moment and he's like, why am I giving this back? But nothing, regardless, he acquiesced, which I think was good, because even was it Jacques Villeneuve that it was on F1, and he, you know, him and Montoya, right, was the other driver that was there, relevant, and they kind of Villeneuve can be a little bit controversial. Supposedly, he speaks his mind, but he was online with it and said no, they did the right thing, because you know he thought, you know, even though the guy was saying, yeah, you know, why did he think about his teammate? But he did do it, and because he did do it, you know, the team kind of owed him back the position, right? Because there was nothing of his doing, because Oscar's right, yeah, because the team fumbled, whatever, but all the things that he did up to that showed that he was looking from a team perspective. This is the way I'm taking it. And they're saying, all right, if he's looking for a team perspective and he has a performance to show, you know, let's put it back the way it was. And, you know, and yeah, there was a big melee about that to say, you know, Papaya Free Racing has limitations on certain things, right? And so, yeah, I get it. You know what I'm saying? And as Simon says, I hope, you know, Oscar doesn't lose the championship by 3 points, because he's going to, you know, it's going to, because again, as I keep saying, that they don't know what next year car is going to be doing at all. So if you are competing this year, this is the year you want it to be in, you know what I'm saying, to get the best out of it. But yeah, I was a little, you know, after Villeneuve talked about it and Montoya talked about it, I kind of see the perspective, right? Because those are recent drivers other than Julian Palmer, right? And so, and they won't mince words like Palmer would, because he's an F1 employee, right? They're a guest speaker, so they kind of laid it out. And after they laid it out, I was like, oh, okay, all right, I see that. You know
yeah. I mean, when I saw it, I initially was like, what do you mean? You know, because he's out here trying to win a world championship right now, and yeah, the team fumbled, so you could pay him back some other way, but what are you talking about? But yes, looking at it, I think it goes back to some of the conversations we've had, where I think it was you, Ray, that, you know, the cutthroat environment of F1, again, 90s, earlier than that, 2000s, depending on the team you're in, cutthroat environment. It's McLaren is showing that no, both of these drivers are capable, and we want to give that. We messed up. We want to give it back. So I was in favor too, but I'll say it like Simon. But oh my gosh, if Lando wins it by 3 points, woohoo!
Or one, or two,
or two, yeah,
that's
a problem.
Well, you know, my other side said Lando's the team's boy anyway, so they wanted to make sure the boy was taken care of.
Well, you know something? Go ahead, Simon. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I don't know if you saw that meme I sent you guys, but it's Avengers Endgame, where, you know, Thor and the guys from Guardians of the Galaxy. They're talking about whose ship it is at the end.
Right.
Oh, this is your ship. No, this is just sure it's your ship. Yeah, of course. Yeah. That's how it feels right now as far as McLaren drivers are concerned. Who's the number one driver?
Yeah.
Right now, even though Oscar is up 30 something points, still feels like Lando's team.
Yeah, I will agree with you. It is kind of that feeling I get as well, because they have 8 races to go. I would expect, days of old, they would have been solidly behind Oscar, and every point he could get, he would get, because he is the front runner. By this point, we're not in the beginning of the season. So how can I put it? I'm curious to see how it plays out, because this, as far as I can see, seems to be the most, I don't have the word, I want to say humanitarian or
wow.
No, not humanitarian, but the most accommodative and fair play that I've seen in an F1 team that, ever. So I'm curious to see how it plays out, because F1 has always been cutthroat.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Okay.
Lando is Zach's boy, man.
Go ahead.
If it plays out this way and one of them wins and everybody's okay with how it plays out, it is gonna set a benchmark. It is gonna change F1 in a slight way.
I'll say this: not if one of them wins. If it plays out and Oscar wins, it could change it, right? Because he's still the front runner. And I'm sorry. Let me say this, because I didn't say this in the opening when we said it. I have to give Oscar his flowers, because when Max and Lando started getting into their thing, one of the reasons he fell into the clutches of Charles is that he backed off a little to give them room, right? Because if those two got caught up in something, he wanted to have room to go around it or avoid it. That right there is a world champion mentality. That's somebody who's playing for points now, right? Patience, thinking. And thank you for saying that, because I meant to mention that. That was, I was impressed. I was impressed because I was watching and I'm like, oh no, he's easing back. He's giving them the room. Let them bang it up.
Yeah, because I think he said in an interview that he backed up because he didn't know who was going to come out of that corner.
There you go.
Right. So he was just like, oh, let's see the show and see who comes out, because you had Mad Max up front and doing his thing. So you know what I'm saying?
I like that.
So yeah. So
we should make a shirt and say that. But anyway, but yeah, moving on. But having said that, Max's dominance. We have to give it to Max. We have to give, at least I give it to Max, where I'm like, wow, he showed what he is. He's a world champion. He's a racer, and he is very good. He didn't put a wheel wrong the whole race. Nothing. Lando did, here and there, a little bit. I'm not.
No. I was just waiting for Ray to say something.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna beat up on Lando. He drove a good race, but Max, world champion. Throw it to you, Ray. I know you're chomping at the bit.
All right, so let's listen. It further proves how these teams work, because they turned up the car for Max to meet what he wanted, right? And because where the heck did all of this stuff come from, right? And a couple races ago, he was back there struggling, and all of a sudden, this was like, Red Bull of old. He was outrunning them. They couldn't run him down. You know what I'm saying? It goes back to what I said. They tweaked up the car for him now, because Tsunoda was nowhere near anything, right? So they gave Max the car he wanted, and he put it through his paces. There was no complaints for him about the car at all during this race, right? Or during the weekend. Where even in interviews, because the last couple ones, he said the car was horrible, blah, 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 but anyway, he was up there within the top 3. This time, it was the old car of yesteryear showed up, where, back when he dominated everything, in my opinion.
Simon, I'll let you. Go ahead, Simon.
Max dominated this entire weekend, right? Down to the qualifying, where he broke Lewis's record, which coincidentally, the record was broken by Lewis in 2020, And before then, it was there for 30 plus years. Do you know by whom?
Who, Michael?
Nico Rosberg's
father. Oh, Rosberg. Oh, KK. Yes. KK Rosberg.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. He had the record 30-something years, then Lewis breaks it in 2020, and now Verstappen comes and breaks it. And Lando and Piastri broke it as well. Right. They both broke the record.
Right.
But Max just came and took the pole position, has that record, and now he also has the record for the shortest F1 race in history. Wow. That's how fast that they were moving, right?
Right.
So it's dominance, right? Whether they turned the car up or not, and I don't necessarily disagree or agree because Tsunoda was nowhere to be found. Dude. I'm sorry they turned up his car too, and if they didn't, why not? But that's a whole nother podcast. But it just shows that car is made for him, and when it's set up right, he's going to win.
Well, I'll say this. You're right. Again, teams create a special package in the beginning for Monza because it's such a high-speed track. They're trying to have as less drag on the car, less downforce on the car. So the way I see it is the Red Bull car was not a bad car, right? Because Max won what? This is his fourth race win this year, I think.
Fourth or third.
Well, fourth or third, right? Mm-hmm. But the car wasn't bad. But I think what it was is that Red Bull got it right with their setup for the car, right? And they were able to capitalize on it. People were expecting Ferrari to have a better showing. Yes, they were good, but they were expecting that Ferrari engine is strong. Their top speed is high. But apparently, and they used an older, they're one of their older packages. So they didn't really create a new one for this year. They used one from, I believe, last year on their car, right? Maybe it just had a little bit more drag than Red Bull was running, but that's it. But to the car, we already know that Red Bull is set up for Max. So to be honest with you, I don't fault Yuki because just like you said, Ray, I sent you guys the video. Juan Pablo, he was being interviewed on F1 TV, and he said it, which is true. Because you apologized to Checo in the last episode. I believe it was, Ray, right? Mm-hmm. And Juan Pablo said this weekend that when Checo came to Red Bull and was racing with Red Bull, he was beating Max, right? He was beating Max in the car.
But in the initial stage of the car.
Initial stage, but once they started tuning the car to Max, right? Checo he was nowhere again. I go back to what I said a couple episodes back. From the High Performance podcast with Alex Albon. He said Max likes his front end sharp. He said if you're familiar with a mouse and you turn the sensitivity of the mouse up to maximum and move it where it just darts across the screen, that's how Max likes it. He said, but as they do that, Max goes faster and faster, but then you don't, because who can drive a car like that? So that's what it is. So I think, he's driving his car that's designed for him, but they put the right aero package on it and they capitalized on it.
Yeah, because it was a car from yesteryear. And, so what he said in that podcast.
Adrian Newey car, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. It must have been because it just reminded me back when he dominated, right? They couldn't approach him. They could not approach him to come back and eat up time, right? They just couldn't touch him.
Right. He ran down the road. He just scooted down the road and they couldn't get him.
Yeah. So it's just like,
So having said that, it was, that was basically the end of the race for me. Like, the team orders with McLaren, what happened with how Max asserted himself. Again, he's a world champion. I was like, okay. But honorable mentions in there, if we go to the rookie performance in this race, right? Got to give it to Gabriel Bortoleto, and I have to give it to Isaac Hadjar, especially Hadjar, who started from the pit lane, had a great performance last week, started from the pit lane, and still managed to gain a point. I don't know. I'll flip it to you, Simon.
No, he is racing unbelievably. I know Nico was commentating this weekend, and they were talking about whether or not he should take Yuki's position next year, right? And all three of them, I think the commentator asked all three of them, what would you do if you were Isaac Hajar?
Mhm.
And it was funny. Two of them said, "Yeah, I'll take it because it's a new car, it's a new season, and there's you never know when you get in the seat again." And guess what Nico said?
What did he say?
Hell no.
There you go.
He said, "I wouldn't take it. I stay right where I am
Mhm.
because they're going to set up the new car, just the way they set it up this year." So it's interesting because I had the same mindset
Mhm.
that Isaac is showing that he's a great driver, but
Mhm.
Yuki is a pretty good driver as well.
Mhm. Mhm.
The car is just not set up for him.
Mhm.
And don't use Yuki as an example. I would use, like you said, Checo as an
Mhm.
example.
Mhm.
Checo is the perfect example why you have to really think about being the second driver for Red Bull at this point.
Mhm.
Unless things change
Mhm.
and Max is not the focal point,
Mhm.
you're going to run into the same situation even with a new setup and a new car.
True. I agree. Ray?
Well, I'll go back to what I believe her name is Bernie Collins.
Yes.
She
Yeah,
used to be a strategist on one of the teams,
Mhm.
and I think she spoke truth. She said, "Listen, you need to identify a person that likes a car that behaves in the same manner as Max likes,
Right.
and that's the rookie that you bring in. You can't bring everybody in, right? Because we've just proven the point now that I believe it was Enzo said at one point that a driver has to mold himself to the car, not the car to the driver. Well, we've reached a car that not all drivers can mold themselves to. All good drivers, they need somebody that is accustomed to it, because if Max likes it that twitchy, that means then there might be a lot of toe out on the car. So even going straight in the car is more difficult because it's ready to react so quickly, right?
Mhm.
So if you could, I agree with her when she says they need to find a rookie that likes their car set up that way to bring in to make it successful. You cannot bring everybody and anybody in there because, as you said, they favor their driver and then they go with the package that suits their what they see their lead driver is, right? And so it just moves away from that person when it was neutral to the point where you can't drive. So the only person that's going to stand a chance is somebody that likes that similar behavior in the car that might be able to decrease that gap, right, in performance.
Right. I agree. It's true. I don't think Isaac should look to go there either. That car, that second car is like a boat anchor on you, and they throw you in the middle of the Atlantic. You're going straight down.
Ender.
Yeah, you're gone. And the only thing I could see is and that wouldn't happen either. You would need a driver that has some credibility and some success that would go there. But to say, no, I need this and this, but we're seeing that already because Lewis has stepped into Ferrari and he's driving the car set up for Charles and Carlos when they were there, and you have to think with how F1 moves, they're right. Next year's car already has Max's influence because it's going to take some of the information from the current car and bring it forward, so
he's already on a simulator driving and giving feedback, right? So they're doing the digital representation of a car. He's already giving them feedback before they start producing any, the parts. It is going his
going to change.
Nothing's
going to change.
No. So they need a driver that likes that type of drive.
Or Isaac is going to have to figure it out if he really wants to go there over the winter break.
But think about this, right? You had Checo, who always had an underrated car, right? To show you to show you how extreme the car is set up to Max. Checo's always driven an underrated car, and he's able to get himself around it to move it, right? I don't even think even Alonso. I don't even think Alonso could handle the car that Max drives, right? And Alonso has driven cars that have been out of whack, and he creates his own driving style and get it. I don't think Alonso if Alonso likes that style of what Max liked, then fine, he's all over it. But if Alonso does not, like that style, I don't think he could be that creative or be that able to then master that car. Right? Because the car, from what Albon said, is very unstable to the normal driver, right? It's very unstable. So, I just don't see, it goes back to what she said. You got to get somebody that they like that, so they won't be freaked out about it. And then now when it goes to the extreme, then that would be interesting, because then it would be interesting to see how extreme they would have to move it. And I think they'd move to a point where Max would hate the car, because if they're trying to push off the second driver because the driver is adapting to it and working with the car. You see what I'm saying?
Well, Max is the goose that laid the golden egg for Red Bull, so they're not going to move too far. He has to be happy. So, whoever is in the second car, I agree with what Bernie said. You need to find somebody like that.
Yeah.
But
the hard part of that, though, there's only a handful of drivers in Formula One. And, you're going from 1 million drivers down to probably 30. That's in F2 and F1. Everyone's going to like their car set up differently. I just believe.
Right.
So trying to find another Max might be a unicorn. Max might be the only one can handle a twitchy mouse.
But you think, could I say this? But do you think that Red Bull would really want to find somebody that likes that driving style? Because that might give their golden boy some competition.
Well,
yes.
Well, they want somebody that's going to finish a solid number 2 behind him, right? So they clearly don't have that now. So in order for them to do it, they have to make some concessions, right? So what they'll probably do is find out, like, Max, can you drive it? If we dialed it back to here, do you think you can still be competitive? Because they're trying to get the other driver up, because they're not going to design 2 separate cars. You're not going to do that.
And Max is going to say no to that. To dial back, he's going to say no. I'll take my papers and I'll go somewhere else.
Well, here's the funny with this, just to close this out, is that next year Max's contract is contracted for next year. So if the Red Bull car is a dog because of all that's happened with the team, right? All the people that have left, right? Max is out. He's not going to stay, right? He's going to look for somewhere else to go. So we'll see how that Red Bull car is. And if Red Bull, maybe if they're smart, they're thinking about that. So they may have to try to do that, because what if you design a car that only Max can drive, and then the following year he's gone, and then you bring in a driver that can't drive this thing, is telling you, no, this is too, it's too pointy on the front end. I can't handle it. So that's it. But before we move on to predictions, I just wanted to say, honorable mentions for Alex Albon as well, because he drove a good race for Williams, finishing P7. And then I got to give it to George. George was quietly back there. Lewis was never really able to close up on George. George had a quiet race, but he drove a good race. He finished 5th. And as for the top 4, they finished where they qualified. So I'll just say that.
Yeah, I think where Lewis messed up on that one, he should have pitted when George was pitting, because he was catching George.
Yeah.
And then he got caught in traffic.
Yes, he was. So. Yes, he was. So moving to predictions. Now we're heading into the next race is Azerbaijan?
Yeah.
Yeah. If I remember.
Street course.
What are your predictions? Because I know we got it pretty much all wrong, I think, from what we said last week. What are your predictions, Simon?
Lando, Max, and Oscar in that position. I think Lando's going to win next week. Is it next week or the week after?
No, it's the 19th. It's a 2-week break. The race weekend starts on the 19th of September.
So I think it's going to be Lando. I think Lando's going to get some solid points again, because he showed me a lot this week. He showed me that he's willing to fight. He's willing to fight for it, and he's willing to call one of his best and closest friends an idiot. I see that he's fighting.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give it to him. I think Max is probably going to still be up there, depending on qualifying and practice. It's probably going to be Lando, Max, and Oscar.
Okay, Ray?
It's going to be Oscar, Max, Lando.
So you just switched first and third for my predictions.
Yeah.
So what did you say, Ray? I'm sorry.
I said it's going to be Oscar, Max, and Lando.
Okay. I'm doing it a little different. I think it's going to be Oscar, Lando, and Max. Oscar, Lando, and Max.
But that's another high downforce track, isn't it? Low downforce track, isn't it? With long straights. So
I can't remember.
Can't remember.
So I think somebody's, might be. So again, Max is going to be in the melee. If whatever juice they put in this car this weekend, I think some of that juice will be left in the car for next weekend. For the next race.
Look, it has to have a lot of straights. Hopefully, it has a lot of straights.
Yeah. But this we'll see how this one pans out. We'll see how this one pans out. So, well, everyone, thank you. Thanks again. We'll be coming to you again on September 19th. Well, on September, the race weekend on September 9th starts on September 19th. We're coming to you that weekend. As always, we go live at 7 p.m. Eastern time on Sundays. And remember to like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay up to date on all things the fellas. We'll see you at the next race. Have a great weekend. A great evening.
Peace.